So, in working with the Biltmore Estate on this collaboration beer, this was something that I'd always thought was something that we would do as a brewery once the sour program was up and running, because so much of what we do in sour beer and so much of what lambic beer is has been driven, a lot of our process and our aging vessels and just how we treat the beer has been driven from the wine industry. I mean, basically, we're making wine with barley and hops and malt and wild yeast. Our process looks a lot more like winemaking than it does like beer making.
For me, it was total discovery, to see what you can do with this kind of product. That's why, for me, it was mainly passive. Not that I was not interested, I was very interested, but I was learning. Testing all the different barrels was very interesting because I think we could see some difference that we can see us with new barrels.
And just like, with wine, we have different barrels from different coopers we'll bring in, and then we'll taste through that whole lot, and you will see differences within that same lot of wine with the different barrels. And I think we did see that also with the beer.
Getting to work with the winemakers on that blend, really seeing them kind of use their attuned palate to kind of get the beer closer to a wine, it was a really, really magical experience. And I think really, in some ways, I learned a lot about blending in that experience. And kind of now as I go forward with blends, I look at them slightly differently just because of the way they were approaching the blend compared to how I normally approach the blend.
I think the blend that we came up with probably will reflect that or reflects that. We are probably in the medium to low range of sourness for sour beers with this particular blend, versus on the extreme high end of the sour rating or acidity that you all like in your sour beers.
When working with this, what we did is we wanted to make sure we incorporated all things that were part of the winemaking process. So in primary fermentation, used our blend of Brettanomyces and our wild sack blend that we use for the primary fermentation on most of our sour beers. We use that, but we also use it in conjunction with their wine yeast. So we took that, we did a golden base beer, fermented that out, added 250 pounds of Riesling must. What happened was we saw all these really crazy esters, a lot of sulfur compounds that were produced in primary fermentation from that wine yeast that we weren't expecting. But in that, over time, those things all get metabolized and rebounded, and eventually we ended up with something that was producing much more unique character. I think specifically a very lemony, kind of lemon skin, lemon pith brightness to the acidity that I don't think we really get normally out of just working with ours. Our yeasts tend to be a little more funky and bready.
There's also a lot of like lemon, lime, citrus characteristics coming through in it too, which could also be imparted from the Riesling and also the bacteria, the acidity from it, and you can pick up Riesling in this, like orange blossom, lemon, lime, all the citrus characteristics.
In the end, I think we created a beer that was somewhere in between wine and beer, and having them in that blending process, we really tried to taper the acidity. Although it very much is a sour beer, there's really nice, great nuances to it. It has a wonderful ability to kind of carry those lemony and citrus, spicy profiles that you'll find in some Rieslings. But at the same time, it's still a Wicked Weed sour beer. I mean, very dry. There's a good Brettanomyces character to it. I think it's going to be a beautiful summer beer, and more so, it's a beautiful beginning to a relationship that I think is going to yield something really spectacular down the road, because the wealth of knowledge they have in there. Between the two of them, they've got probably over 50, 60, 70 years of winemaking experience. Bernard was literally making wine before I was born. So getting a chance to work with those guys, I think it will yield long-term. We're going to do some really, really amazing stuff. And for the first time working with a winery, I couldn't be more happy with the results.